them staying in that, but it would be interesting to see, Phoenix finish up in that eighth spot to see how, they would just pan out in the playoffs against the Lakers. Now, the other thing that is going on in the Western Conference is seeding. And where you fall and who you're going to see in the first round, because those are not determined just yet, almost, but just you got a lot of teams that's half a game apart from each other in these brackets. So Lakers don't have to worry about anything. They kept their number one spot, but Clippers and the Nuggets, and for me personally, I think that the Clippers would probably want to drop to 3 and see Utah versus Dallas. Dallas is, with Luka and Porzingis, you got a nice 1-2 punch there, and anything. This is one of those anything is possible moments. They could shake up the world. Mavericks found that out a long time ago against the Golden State Warriors when they were the number one seed and they lost in the first round. So for me, I think the Clippers will probably want to fall down to that 3, see Utah, and then go from there. Now the Denver Nuggets, which are sitting at that 3, could very well be in that second slot. Jordan Rosario, who's in the Wait a Minute Show chat room, is already saying, let's go Nuggets. The Nuggets are another scary team. They already had Murray. Then, this kid Porter came along, Jokic. And now Bo, he came out and put on the show his first game. So they could go big, but they could get up and down the floor. You still got Paul Millsap. I didn't even mention him. Who is the anchor to this team, the vet, on this team that guides these young guys and is the mentor and the leader on this team. So the Clippers, to me, out of all the teams, not the Clippers, the Nuggets, out of all the teams, if we're gonna pick a team to ruin everything, and when I say everything, I mean to get to the finals or scare the bejesus out of one of these top 2 teams, the Lakers or the Clippers, it's going to be the Nuggets. Rockets, don't get me wrong, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, you always got a chance, with them. But I just think this Nuggets team, man, where they are, and I think they are gritty. I think they're not scared of anybody, and they got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose at all, So Western Conference is going to be very interesting. 4-5, Rockets and Thunder. Chris Paul playing the Rockets, again. That looks like that's going to, could be a matchup. Utah could move up, as well. But Western Conference is going to be very, very good. So keep your eyes on that in that first round. First round in the Eastern Conference, like I said, I think it's just really going to go chalk, and then we'll really start getting into the meat and potatoes in the second round, for the Eastern Conference. But NBA is back. NBA is interesting. NBA is fantastic, as they say. Now, I want to move back into college football. We were talking earlier to start off the show about the Big Ten and the Pac-12 pushing their season possibly to the spring. And the reason I want to talk about this is really, how is that going to work? How is it playing a possibility of playing in the spring? Let me just say that, a possibility. How is that going to work? Because are we still talking about bowl games? Are we still talking about playoffs? How is that? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're scratching, all that. But also another thing that's going to play a factor is who will be playing in the spring. Because we've already had players who have opted out that have opportunities to go to the next level in the NFL. And they said they're going to go ahead and just start focusing on the draft. And I just think if you got some players who start playing in the spring, or you got some players that was scheduled to probably be a high draft pick in the NFL, you're going to have football without those players. at some point in the season, either at the beginning of the season, at the in the middle of the season, because if you're going to start in January and play a season, we're talking about going into April. That means the combine is already April, March, or whatever. But the combine will already probably be scheduled as far as like how they're going to do that. The draft, then the NFL may push the draft back, just depending on how the situation. But you got to think the draft will be somewhere in April, May. These kids that would normally have probably a couple months to get themselves ready for like pro days and everything, and an interview with teams, that's all going to be, condensed down. So I don't know if there will be spring football. Sounds good. Sounds nice. But I don't know how that's going to work out. Now, if you stay, with your conference like they were anyway, you can play your conference games and, you're good to go. But let's just say a team, by chance, Michigan, my team. Let's say, hey, maybe they go 10-1, 10 they got 10 games. So 9-1. Man, they go 9-1. And if the SEC and all these other teams, conferences play, they're not waiting on them. Like, how is that going to work? How are you going to pull that off? Or is this just really going to be, we're going to play football, we're going to have a good time, and we're not even going to worry about the bowl games, and we'll go from there. So it's that I don't have the answer. That I don't even, I can't even start with how they're going to figure that out. But someone with a college degree will actually probably do if they actually end up having spring football. But if they do, look, you have the first part, Big 12, SEC, ACC, if they all play, and then you follow it up with Big 10 and the Pac-12, might be some fans pretty happy, about that. Last thing we're going to talk about before we give out the Big L award is the New England Patriots have added themselves another player. We already broke news, about Dallas adding Everson Griffin to their team. So they get themselves another running back. So this is probably like running back number 9,000, for the New England Patriots. But they have added Lamar Miller, who was formerly of the Houston Texans, formerly of the Miami Dolphins. Lamar Miller is coming off a torn ACL injury that he missed all of 2019. He injured himself in the third preseason game, if I remember correctly. And he's been rehabbing this whole time. So now he's doing, kind of the thing that a lot of players do is you're trying to get back. You're trying to show people what you're made of or whatever. And New England comes calling, or New England say, you know what? Hey, you can come play for us. We give you about $5, $5.50, and you can suit up with us and run with us. And Lamar said, okay, I'll be on that. Now, here's the thing. Lamar is, if he is fully recovered from this knee injury, from the ACL, it doesn't put him as the workhorse back. And that's one thing in New England. I want to say, the last maybe workhorse back they had probably was Corey Dillon way back in the day after he left Cincinnati. So it puts him in the mix, but it also does put him in a space that he probably can accomplish what he needs to accomplish, because I just think this is a stop on the way to somewhere else. Sony Michel still has, foot problems. He still have injury problems. Damian Harris, he was trying to find the field. Maybe he'll find the field. You still got, what's the cat from Burkhead from Cincinnati that's been there. And I miss James White. I mean, you got a lot of backs that's going to be there. And New England loves to just utilize their backs based off of who they're playing. Now, what I will, say is that goal line situations, he could take over those duties and contribute that way. And I think he will contribute as far as like him, Cam Newton, and everything, and being a change of back or change of pace back for that team. So I do like the signing, but don't expect that Lamar Miller is going to be, unless they have some injuries or unless he just really just come out of nowhere and he forced the coaches that they got to give him the ball. But it is going to be, a nice landing spot, for him. As long as he play ball, with them, then he'll be okay. And this is all about next year, though. This is, because if he can have a good year there, then he can move on to another team and contribute there. So, having said all that, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time, like we always do at the end of the show. We're going to hand out the Big L Award, which is the Big Loser Award, and we hand it out to somebody or something or some organization or whatever, some animal, whatever it is. Anybody can get this thing at the end of this show. So the Big L Award, we're going to be handing this out. And on Saturday, we were talking about taking the negative G5 and, or the Wait a Minute show, mobile home, down to Orlando and all that. So we're not going to do all that. It's 2020, things have changed, but also it's 2020 and we're going to utilize technology. Okay? We're going to utilize the technology that is set before us to go ahead and hand out this Big L Award. We got emails, we got social media, we got all that stuff that we can use, but we're going to use this email. We're going to use this email format. And the email format we're using is because it is what was used against some NFL players. 2 to be exact. But there's a little bit of a twist to this. Obviously, that's why it's the Big L Award. There are 2 Chicago Bears. And I guess the NFL do these random drug tests, right? And when they do the random drug test, they send out, a notification that, hey, you'll be contacted pretty soon about, your drug test. You need to do all this, blah, 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 blah. Be ready. Because when they call him the P-Man, when the P-Man come, be ready. So this is what they sent out. They said, per the NFL policy on performance-enhancing substance, every NFL player will have an annual drug test. The following important memos are attached. The annual test memo and drug testing during COVID-19 memo. As a reminder, while COVID-19 precautions are in place, you will be notified by your NFL performance-enhancing substance drug testing time by the collector the evening before by text message. The collector will text you at the number you list at my cell phone on the NFL PES policy contact information. I'm telling you all this for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Please log in to the NFL PES policy contact information website to confirm your contact information is correct. They sent this out to 2 Chicago Bears players. Do you know who those 2 Chicago Bears players were, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know who those 2 players were? Oh, they were none other than former Chicago Bears quarterback Charles Tillman and former Chicago Bears running back Matt Forte, who hasn't played in years. And you are sending out memos talking about you going to get your drug test this season. Now, Charles Tillman and them have said, look, we'll take the test if we can get put back on the insurance plan, because they got a hell of an insurance plan. But we'll take it. But, hey, I ain't played in 4 years, bro. Charles Tillman works for the FBI now. But you sending out memos or emails talking about we're going to hit you up and we're going to give you your drug test, your annual drug test like we always do. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even need to go into a big story. That's good enough. I don't even have to go any further. So what we're going to do here, we're going to utilize the same format that they use, the NFL and the email, and we're going to send the email up to the NFL. And on the subject line, in big, bold letters, I wish I could change the font size up to 72 on this, but we're going to send them a update your distribution list. exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And in the body of it, we're going to say, how dare you send memos to people that ain't played